Among Us is a social deduction online multiplayer game created by Innersloth and released on June 15th, 2018. Inspired by games like Mafia and Werewolf, and, while not confirmed, was also likely inspired by John Carpenter's The Thing, the gameplay revolves around a group of spacemen trying to figure out who the imposter among them is before everyone in the group falls victim to them. The player either takes control of a crewmate or an imposter, and the game ends once either the imposter overwhelms the crew, or once the crew completes all their tasks to figure out who the real imposter is. However, there is an alternative way for either side to win. This mainly comes from the report and the emergency meeting mechanic. When this mechanic is triggered, the game forces all living players to come back to spawn and discuss the current situation and if they have any information leading to the identity of the imposters. And if the crew can come to a decision, they can vote off anyone in the group to the air dock of shame, killing the player who got voted off. This can either result in the death of an imposter, or in most cases, the death of an innocent crewmate. And this is where the topic of our video comes in. Now, obviously, the internet at this point has memed this mechanic to death, and while the idea of voting off an innocent crew member based on nothing but a funny accusation can be funny to think about, but what if I were to tell you this very situation that I just described has actually happened multiple times throughout history? Now, obviously, I'm not referring to an alien actually relentlessly picking off a crew of unsuspecting people. Although, considering there are two The Thing movies, I wouldn't blame you for thinking it. Nor am I saying that ever happened in real life. That we know of, anyway. For this video, I will be referring to two events in history specifically: the Salem witch trials and the Second Red Scare. Now, I hear you thinking in the background there, Sonic, you dumbass, no one would actually do anything based on hardly any evidence, and much less an accusation. It's not like they would actually go through and harm or even kill the person based on that. Right? Right? Well, I wouldn't have a video topic if that weren't true. So, let's just get right into the first section. The Salem witch trials are one of, if not the biggest event in colonial America, and still hold a major part not only of Salem's heritage, but America's as well. Its impact can even be felt on the modern day with all the media based around it, with my personal favorite being The Crucible by Arthur Miller, and while the book is not 100% factually accurate, it still gives a good picture into the trials, and in all honesty, is a really entertaining read on its own, and I'd highly recommend it for anyone who's bored at the moment. But anyway, I should probably summarize what the trials were for those unfamiliar with it. The Salem witch trials were a series of trials and hearings that occurred from February of 1692 all the way to May of 1693 in the town of Salem, Massachusetts, that resulted in over 200 accusations, 19 people being hung, and an estimated 13 plus people who died in prison as a result of the accusation. So, I bet the question in your head at the moment is, what could have caused all of that chaos and death that started out in this seemingly small town long ago? Well, it all began with young Betty Paris and Abigail Williams, who began to act strange as they ended up having what was reported as body contortions, fits of rage, and continuously uttered strange noises. I don't know, to me it kind of just sounds like they were on their periods, but, you know, it's colonial times. Intriguingly enough, though, the doctor couldn't find anything physically wrong with them, and as the situation went on, even more girls slowly started exhibiting the same symptoms, and the accusations started rolling out soon after. They fell, initially, on Sarah Good, a woman of lower economic status in the community, Sarah Osborne, a woman who also rarely attended church, and Tituba, a slave of the local pastor. And as the weeks went on, they wouldn't be the only ones. More and more women and men would be accused as the hysteria swept the town and, in some cases, actually went more into the state itself. And no one was safe. Even the governor's wife ended up getting accused. To which he responded by shutting down the courts, denying the accusation, and banning the use of all spectral evidence. He also stopped all further executions. I guess it's all fun and games until it's your family member who gets accused. Oh. Anyway, getting back on track. To reiterate, over 200 people got accused, and over 20 people died due to the accusations of children. Because take note, Betty nor Abigail were over the age of 15. And those small accusations they initially threw out in the beginning of this resulted in the town, not only the town actually, the whole entire state practically getting blown up in mass hysteria and resulted in the chaos that I just mentioned. That's so huge, especially considering, like I mentioned, I'm going to reiterate this one more time. This all started based on the accusations of children. And the worst part about this all is that people went along with it. I mean, take note, for example, in the trial system that they used for these trials, there was about 7 judges each time. So that means that 7 judges had to agree on the fact of someone committing witchcraft using only the accusations and quote-unquote spectral evidence. I mean, think about how insane that is. Spectral evidence, which just means literally someone saying, hey, I saw a ghost. And that could be counted for spectral evidence, which you would think is insane and that they wouldn't go with it. But no, they genuinely used it, which is why I mentioned earlier that the governor actually ended up banning the use of these as soon as his wife got accused. It's actually insane. And the worst part is, this isn't the only time this has happened in history, as you guys are about to find out in our next section. So let's go on ahead and move on to the Red Scare. While not as popular as the Salem witch trials, the Red Scare actually had a major influence over America for such a long time. The first Red Scare, to briefly summarize, actually helped implement some of the most controversial laws in U.S. history, such as the Espionage Act of 1917 and the Sedation Act of 1918. The reason for such drastic measures was because after the Bolshevik Revolution, many people feared that such a revolution would also happen in America as well, and the media and the government officials over-exaggerated this idea to such an extent where things like labor strikes, strikes that were done for a really good reason at the time, were labeled as anarchist and as threats to society. In fact, the only reason that all this stopped initially was because after J. Edgar Hoover incorrectly said there would be a nationwide uprising on May 1st of 1920, and when there wasn't, the public decided they had enough of this bullshit, and they pretty much stopped supporting the idea in general. And while I am giving you guys the extremely scarce version of the events, because a lot more happened than what I initially described, it still should be noted that although this isn't the main focus of this specific section, the results of that are about to have major, and I mean major, transgressions into what I'm about to talk about with the second Red Scare. And it wasn't until after World War II where the Red Scare slowly started crawling back with a vengeance, and started up around 1947 and somewhat ended around 1957. And this is where I want the main focus of our section to be. The second Red Scare was pretty similar to the last, as it was the fear of communist infiltration and the political overtaking of the US. This was started and led by Senator Joseph McCarthy, as he threw out countless upon countless accusations claiming that people were communists and were looking to overthrow America as they knew it. And it wasn't just the factory workers this time. The communists could be anyone. They could be your neighbor, your child's teacher, artists, journalists, writers. I think you guys get the point here. Point being, anyone could have been a communist. And as a result, the paranoia in America was intense. And our boy McCarthy here wasn't exactly helping, as he continuously threw accusations to almost everyone around him. And the thing was, there was rarely any evidence to back up his claims, but no one wanted to step up and speak out about the injustice that was occurring, because if you didn't agree with him, you were clearly a communist, because that's how disagreeing with people works. But this was more than just getting rid of communists, as some of the victims of the Red Scare were people like homosexuals, socially inept people, activists, and of course, people who criticized and pushed back against McCarthyism, because let us remember, the Sedation Act was still in effect at this point in time. And the thing is this wasn't small scale either. Hundreds of Americans were imprisoned on these accusations, and tens of thousands lost their jobs. To make things worse for those who lost their jobs, they were basically blacklisted, so they couldn't even find another job easily. This was most obviously shown in Hollywood, as 300 actors, writers, and directors were blacklisted from the industry. Notable people who were blacklisted or suffered as a result of the Second Red Scare include Charlie Chaplin, W.E.B. Du Bois, Albert Einstein, J. Robert Oppenheimer, Orson Welles, and many, many more. And this persecution likely would have continued if it weren't for the fatal mistake that McCarthy made, which was accusing the U.S. Army of being communist. Not only was this hearing aired live, but it also showed America how insane McCarthy actually was, and at that point onward, the support for McCarthyism heavily declined as a result. And once again, while I am briefly summarizing everything here, it's still a major point in American history, and it actually saddened me that it was much easier to get information for the Salem witch trials than it was for arguably this gigantic event in American history. Like, think about it. The Salem witch trials at maximum had 40 people die, and this had thousands upon thousands of people lose their jobs simply because they were accused of being communist. And I cannot tell you how bad that is in comparison. And it's not like this was an isolated event either. As I mentioned in the essay, this happened twice with the Red Scare and has happened more times in recent history. And I'm not going to tell you when or where they happened, because genuinely, I feel this is something that you should look up on your own because of the reasons that I'm about to list in the next section of this video. The main purpose of me talking about these two events is to show you the absolutely terrifying combination of paranoia and groupthink, and how it can lead to innocent people getting hurt as a result, which, if you recall, is almost exactly how the gameplay of Among Us ends up devolving into, as once the first body is found, usually a meeting is called, and while there is an attempt of using logic within the first or second meeting, usually what ends up happening is that either through the killer or through misinformed crewmates, someone, likely an innocent person, ends up taking the fall and dies in the game as a result. They are a victim of the same mob mentality, the same paranoia that drove the citizens of Salem and the entirety of America to turn onto their fellow man based on little to no evidence, and being unable to retaliate because you have nothing you will say will change their mind. And that, to me alone, is much more terrifying than anything you will encounter this Halloween season. And it's those who are defenseless or are picked on by a majority that end up paying the price with such actions. For example, recall how I described all of the initial women accused during the Salem witch trials, and you'll notice there's a similarity between these three women. It's the fact that they were considered outsiders. And for that reason, who would defend them when they were accused? Do you stick with the group doing the accusing? Or do you risk your own life to defend them? Because clearly to people in that situation, it was the first option. However, I don't want to leave you on a note of feeling hopeless, of preventing these type of things from happening, and having a lack of faith in humanity. Because the solution, surprisingly, is very simple. All that needs to be done is this one thing, and that is to present the facts and be wary of misleading information. Don't believe me? Look at this game of Among Us I'm about to show, and how by simply using the facts presented to me over the course of the game, I was not only able to defend myself, but I was able to deduct the true culprit.
Anyways, I wish you guys some fun. Thanks for playing with me tonight. It was a fun podcast. Adios.
Alright, see ya.
Alright, so that was Gira being Gira. Well, I guess it's a good thing I'm on here. sure to go back into that room and check out what's happening. We'll do it after this. We'll make a runabout. Okay, no, never mind. They're still alive. We're good. I'm gonna call an emergency meeting. Someone's probably dead now.
Literally just about to finish my last task. Alright.
Yeah, I knew it. Someone died.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Oh, there. Alright, so this is a bit conflicting considering the three of us saw each other for an extended period of time.
I know. And
When did you and Rosa split up?
The last time that I saw, like, Rosa or you... Actually, darn it, man, I can't even remember who was who, but... was in around, like, storage area. I saw you two... Oh, yeah, now I remember it. I saw you two leaving off towards the right side of the... towards the right side of the ship, and then I went off to the left to finish off the rest of my task, which is filling up gas, wires by security, and Simon Says.
Alright, Rosa, what's your defense?
For me, I'm in the right. What's it? Weapons. Yeah, I'm doing the task of the. What's this? Shooting the veggies.
Alright.
Did you have any other tasks?
Sorry.
What other tasks do you have on the right side?
Electrical and also the weapons.
Objection! My perspective, it's between you and Rosa, but I don't have enough to go off of.
I'm putting it on Rosa. Something's hunching me.
I'm just.
Oh my God! Why?
I mean. Is it you, Sonic?
No. I knew it! I knew it!
I was literally going on no evidence.
So if there's something to take away from this video, don't let it be your lack of faith in humanity. Let it be that the facts should always come first before jumping to accusations and assumptions. Don't let the mob mentality and the paranoia of the world get to you. Let you be guided by those exact facts that guided me to victory in that game of Among Us. And finally, for those who do not know their history, are almost certain to repeat it. And those are the lessons I want you guys to take away from this video tonight on this Halloween evening. At least Halloween in terms of me posting this. But those are what I want you guys to know. And it's for that reason I made this video. Not as a downer video, but more as a warning and an educational lesson, so that way these mistakes cannot be repeated in the future. That's all. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you with our next Halloween special. Goodbye. Hey guys, me again here, back at the credits. I just wanted to leave a little message to once again thank you guys for watching the video all the way through, and please make sure to drop that like and subscribe while you're at it. I know at the end there I said I'll see you in the next Halloween special. Unfortunately, just due to life events and things like that, there won't be. This is the Halloween special, and yeah, I just couldn't figure out how to do the Scooby-Doo thing on time, and I feel like that's just a me thing. Regardless though, I hope you guys really enjoyed this one because of the fact that this was going to be the only one to come out this Halloween. I really want to make it special, so I really hope that I achieve that, and that I also achieve my goal of educating you guys on the events I talked about. And also, the next video is going to probably be the Sonic CD one. I honestly won't be going through with the Fall Guys one at this point. I just really want to get the next part of the Sonic retrospective out of the way. So, with that all gone, I am going to see you guys next time. Thank you guys for watching.